My name is Riya, and this is my first TED video for the TED class at school. So for this video, I will be discussing a video that we actually watched in class called How Schools Kill Creativity by Sir Ken Robinson. So I'll be kind of reflecting on this and giving my thoughts on this video. Sir Ken Robinson starts this video by explaining how people's educations run deep with them and how education, kind of explaining the purpose for education, how it's meant to take us into a future that we cannot grasp, obviously. Um, and he makes a big point right in the beginning. He makes a point about how children have extraordinary capacities for innovation and are extremely creative. And one of the other big things that he says is that kids are not frightened of being wrong, because being wrong isn't stigmatized until later down the line. So kids don't have that fear of being wrong. It's actually more important than it seems, the fact that kids don't have a problem with being wrong. One of the lines he says is that if you are not prepared to be wrong, you'll never come up with anything original. And I 100% agree with this statement. If you're too afraid to come up with anything on your own, all you're ever going to do is be attached to everything everyone else has already come up with, attached to everything that you know. Sir Ken Robinson defines the word creativity as the process of having an original idea that has value. So basically, this kind of explains why his whole idea, his whole point, is that kids are educated out of this creativity. Because once you grow up, companies and schools, they stigmatize your mistakes. And so when you don't have any original thoughts because you're afraid of making mistakes, you're left with very little creativity. So he goes on to explain why creativity is important at all. And he starts by saying academic ability has come to dominate our views of intelligence. And this is something that I can note is very true. People are so caught up in the idea of education and being well educated and being a part of society and a sustaining citizen and things like such that, everyone is getting degrees now. And so something called academic inflation is occurring. And so there are too many people with degrees, and therefore they're going to start losing their value. And when this does occur, what's going to matter, what's going to be worth more, is the people who are creative, those who still have their creative capacities. And so the really big point that Sir Ken Robinson makes is that we need to radically rethink our views of intelligence. Academic ability should not dominate our views of intelligence as it does now. We know three things about intelligence. It's diverse, it's dynamic, and it's distinct. And therefore, I think it's kind of crazy that we solidify it to be being one thing. It's very hard for it to be one thing. There are millions of different kinds of creativity. And I think that's something that people should recognize more. I think that's something that I'm trying to recognize more. Everyone's talents and everyone's differences, even at a young age, because those who have the ability to keep their creative capacities are the ones that'll use them and use them to affect the world more than those who are just going to follow what they know, those who are afraid of being wrong, those who are afraid of questioning anything. That is one of the reasons that this video really struck me, is because not many people tend to question something like education, and I think it's really bold and brave of Sir Ken Robinson to say, you know what, no, we're doing something wrong. We shouldn't be squandering these kids' talents. We shouldn't be telling them they can't be creative. We shouldn't stigmatize their mistakes. And I think that's something that everyone should work on, is not stigmatizing mistakes, being okay to be wrong. And I think his definition of creativity, which is the process of having original ideas that have value, is spot on. I think the only way to come up with anything original, to come up with anything true, to be creative and to be new, is to let go of all the ideas that we hold that academic everything is so important. More so the idea that academic ability is the most important. Obviously it is incredibly important, otherwise we wouldn't have it at all. But I think the idea that it is the most important should be questioned and should be changed. So to recap, I think the biggest idea is that we have to radically rethink our views of intelligence, and that's something that I completely support and something I know I will work on. So that is all for this video, so thank you for watching. Goodbye.